for Tuesday Night Live Chat with Brian S. Red and John Young. Good evening and welcome to Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe.
Oops.
Dang.
Got me instead. Remember me, guys?
Well, we'll do something different. But we need to make sure we use the phrase "it depends" multiple times.
Well, it depends.
It depends if we want to do that. Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight out there on Facebook and YouTube. Brian Red is with me tonight. We haven't had a chance to do a show in a long time because it's just been crazy with family and doing this and sports and things. And the seasons of... I'm kind of in a break here, so it's like let's get together and do a show on a Tuesday night. And for those of you who follow the Tuesday Night Music Show with Jay and Howie and Brian, they're going to be doing that after we get done with our live show that's going out right now. You go to DJNTV.com/chill, and you'll be able to kind of watch the recording of that. And then that show gets put up about
eventually.
About a week and a half later is when the shows get put up. So that's the way it goes. So Brian, it's great to be back and have some time. So thanks for
having me on. I missed you. I missed doing shows with you.
Who is that guy? Oh, you're funny.
Oh, I should open the chat. I forgot about that. They live chat this.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
there's actually a chat in there going pretty good. So.
Nice.
So there's a variety of different things I wanted to cover tonight. Because first off, you were really busy, so we want to talk about the weekend in which you were performing all weekend.
All week.
Yeah, pretty much all week. And then I wanted to talk as part of that about training people. We'll get into that a little bit, and then I want to bring up Festivus. So those are going to be kind of our topics for tonight. We'll talk about the big week of work, training people, and then Festivus.
Sure.
So first off, for those who haven't been following and such, you ended up last week going down to where was that? Down in Florida?
Daytona Beach, Florida. Yeah.
And kind of give us a little what you're doing down there.
Well, it was the Welcome to Rockville Festival. It's 4 days of music starting at around noon going till midnight or 1:30 or whatever. And the backstory to this is I was asked by a gentleman I went to high school with to design a system that would allow a person to not only do karaoke but to provide backing tracks for up-and-coming artists to sing.
Sure.
So if there was, let's say, a country artist who had a new track, they had a backing track, you could load it into a program or something, play it so they could perform it live. So I told my friend, I said, look, understand that I don't do karaoke, but I understand how these systems work. It's pretty much a DJ system, simplified as far as, the controller and jog wheels and such go, with a microphone mixer. I think that would probably be the easiest path forward. He says, well, we need you to design this system so we can train anyone to use it. I said, well, I'm not sure how easy it will be, but I'll make it as simple as I can.
Sure.
So I built the system to his wishes, and I did show him some of the equipment that I had on me at the time in my truck because I was doing all my weddings at the time. I had the Evolve 30Ms, and he was thinking, we'll put some JBLs. We've got some JBL Eon stuff that we use, and they work really well. I said, well, can I show you something? So I took the Evolve 30Ms into the conference room and put on like a Bluetooth XM thing and cranked it up. And I was talking to him. I said, you notice how we can hear each other? He's like, oh, that's amazing. I'm like, yeah, but it's loud. I said, I think this would work really well for what you want to do. The, I guess, little marquee or tent or whatever was about an 80-person capacity situation. So I thought this would be ideal.
Sure.
The system, if you see it, and I'm posting a video soon. I'm in the editing process of it right now. It looks a lot like my DJ system, because everything that I was showing him was stuff that I just happened to have.
Yeah.
And he liked it, and it was practical, and it worked. So, yeah. That's not my equipment that you're seeing in the video. That's actually stuff that I was able to source locally, a lot of it locally, and put together for the client.
Brian,
But anyway,
let's hang
I'm
on right there
sorry.
for just a second.
Sure.
You mentioned, of course, the Evolve 30. Why did you go 30 instead of the 50? What was your rationale behind that?
Well, I own both, and I've been using the 30 pretty much exclusively since I got them, which was during the pandemic. I think they were shipped around May, perhaps. And I had just a few gigs in 2020, but I used those because the events were much smaller. We were doing, half capacity at best. So 100 people was like a big event, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they worked wonderful. And I'm to the point where I kind of prefer them for anything under 150 people. I want to use the 30Ms. The 50s, there's nothing wrong with the 50s, but I prefer the 30Ms. I think they sound really nice.
Do you feel that there's a lot of sound fall off or sound, you're lacking sound from those compared to the 50s?
No. In fact, and it may just be perception, but I think the 30Ms sound better. There's Dynacorn amps in there. It's good stuff. So not as big, but I prefer them. And when we were talking about only 80 people, why run 50s?
Yeah, for sure.
Because, the way I'm looking at it right now, my go-to speakers are the Evolve 50s and the Evolve 30Ms. If I have let's put it this way. If I have close to 200 people, I'm bringing the 50s. And I mean, if I'm going above and beyond like 2.25, I need something more than that. But for around 2, I think the 50s are fine for the types of things I do and for my sound objectives. Right. But for anything less than 150, there's no reason to bring those. You can bring the 30Ms. They weigh less, and I think they sound fantastic.
I like that you use the phraseology for sound objectives, because I think that's a big thing, and I think that's an important thing, because not only do we have our objectives of what we want to do sound-wise, but the clients are going to have an expectation and an objective. And sometimes what we think, I need big bass, isn't what the clients. And you gave a great example of that when you're standing there talking to the person while the speakers are playing.
Yeah. And it made a difference because the client ultimately was Swisher Sweets, the cigars, and they were carding people. They were signing them up for mailing lists and all of those kind of things, kind of right in front of the system. And if we would have had a two-way top cabinet with a horn just blaring, nobody would have been able to hear. Like, they wouldn't have been able to have a conversation with clients. They wouldn't have been able to take their information or talk to them at all. Where this was ideal. They could hear it fine, good and clear, but it wasn't blowing anybody's head off. And I like that for weddings too, especially weddings, because, I mean, people go to weddings and they see people they haven't seen in a long time. They want to have conversations. So there's two things that I feel like that you don't want to do. You don't want to exhaust people from screaming at each other over the sound. And you absolutely don't want to chase them out of the room to have a conversation, because then you lose your audience.
Do you find, we've talked about this on past shows when we've been together, listener fatigue?
Yes.
Do you find that is a thing at all when you're dealing with the Evolve?
No, it's not a thing. In fact, it's... So, okay, what I've discovered, and again, my sound objectives for what I do, which is primarily weddings, and I do quinceañeras and things like that. And sometimes I do a school dance, and that's a very different sound objective. Yeah. But for the weddings and quinces, it's a social event. People want to talk. I want it nice and warm on the dance floor and hot, like a hot spot. But anywhere off the dance floor, you should be able to have a conversation with somebody. You should be able to hear the songs. You should be able to hear the announcements, but it shouldn't be the thing that is like there in your face. It's that frequency, I think, with the mid, which is vocal. You don't want to occupy that frequency with your sound system in conversation areas. You want people to be able to have those conversations. And I feel like that the evolves that I'm using, either the 50 or the 30M, really accomplish the objective of being able to hear it, yet not overpowering that frequency anywhere in the room. And it works.
Yeah.
And people stick around and they have conversations, and no one is saying it's not loud enough.
Mm-hmm.
No one says that ever. But again, my sound objectives. If you want to do a high school, which I've done 2 recently, yeah, I'm going for bigger stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going for EKX. I mean, ETX would be even better, but I'm trying to fill a room with, several hundred kids. But for social events like this, yeah, I like to keep that hot spot on the dance floor, and then, just listening at a very moderate level everywhere else in the room so people can have conversations.
And for those of you wondering why we're kind of digging into this in this particular area, is that we have a lot of questions when it comes to the array type systems that are out there, and specifically the Evolve, because people have seen Brian using the 30, and I've had some video and pictures of those in the field. And these are questions and concerns that a lot of DJs have had. So that's why I wanted to spend just a little bit of time and kind of break out of Brian's story and tangent into this, because this is real world experience using the gear. It has its things it can do, and it has things that it can't do, and that's
right.
So that's why
it's not the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah,
it's really not. I mean, I feel like if you really want a Swiss Army knife, you're going to need a 2-way top cabinet. Like an EKX system is probably ideal. You can do 150 person event with it. You can do a 500 person event with it.
Yeah.
But if you're specializing or doing primarily smaller events and more social events, then it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And for a guy like me with my physical disabilities, it's incredibly easy because the weight is good and the setup is easy.
They're very user friendly when it comes to that. So
yeah,
that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, let's jump back into the story. So they brought you in you put the system together, you designed it. It looks very similar to yours.
I designed it, then I built it.
Yeah.
And then they asked me to go out and do some training on it in St. Louis. So I went there. I guess it was the week before last. Really, my brain is scrambled eggs. I can't remember what I've done when. But I went down there and I attempted to show some people what I had done, and they looked at it like it was, the Star Trek. It just was science fiction to them. So then I was asked to go be a tech on the road and train on the road. So go down there and just stand over whoever they have there, show them how to do things. And if they screw it up, go twist the knob or whatever you got to do to make it happen. And if you need to, step in and do it. And the rest of the time, you just sit on a stool. It's going to be long days. It's going to be at least 10-hour days. Plus, you're there early, you're setting up, and you're getting out of there. So altogether, probably good 12-hour days, solid 12-hour days, maybe more. 12 is a conservative estimate on that. That was what I was planning on doing at Daytona Beach. So I went down there, and the long story short, I ended up doing everything. I ended up performing. I was standing all day. I was hosting the karaoke. I was teching things out. There were things, I don't know what you want to call them. I guess things that you couldn't possibly know, unknowns that were going to come up on site, like the sun and the speaker placement and volume and a lot of things. There was a lot of problem solving on the fly on the tech side of things that I'm really glad that I was there to help out with. And then there was also the performance side of things. There were things to figure out with people coming in to sing songs. How are we going to do this? I had Jimmy DePalma make me this really cool sheet of, believe it or not, 50 tracks that we chose to use at this show. Only 50. People say that's not a lot, but you know what? We did, well, I got to back up a little bit. I only played band breaks. I didn't play when there was a band on stage because there were like 4 or 5 stages there. We were right next to the Sirius XM Octane stage. I've got people like Rob Zombie and Slipknot next to me. I can't compete with their sound system.
Not so much, yeah.
I mean, the Evolve 30s are wonderful, but give me a break, Plus, I want to, respect to the artists. Let's not play over them. So we weren't playing when the band was playing, ultimately. So it was just band breaks, yet we still had between probably 40 and 60 performers a day with those 50 tracks. The way we did it was really cool. One of the spokesmodels there actually would ask people if they wanted to do it. If they said yes, she would sign them up, get their name, find out what track they wanted, and give it to me. So I didn't have to do all that. Someone else did that. They would just hand me the sheet. I'd load the track. We'd do a mic check with them, and away we went. It was really nice. So we got a good rhythm down, and it took a couple days to get there. But the last 2 days were really smooth. We had the sound system where we wanted it. We had everything just dialed. It was good.
Nice.
It was real good. And there were so many unknowns. I mean, again, you don't know where the sun's going to come in.
Yeah.
And what effect that's going to have on your equipment or your computer screen. And it's Florida sun, it's hot. Even if it's not hot out, that sun just is closer to you than it is here in Wisconsin.
Especially at this time of the year.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it could be like 69 degrees out if the sun's out. It's baking your stuff if it's on it. So there was a lot going on. And there were a lot of things that I discovered out there just doing this that were kind of unforeseen. But I mean, I've got the tech hat. I've got the DJ hat. So both of those things helped a lot. For instance, the plan that they ultimately had was that they were going to play the Spotify list of tracks off of an iPad or an iPod, whatever, something, when there was no one singing. So like the buffer music was going to be this
playlist,
Spotify playlist,
yeah.
And the list consisted of artists that were performing there at the music festival. So who was there? Metallica, Chevelle, like I mentioned, Slipknot, Rob Zombie. I'm sure some of you heard about Brass Against. I don't know if you heard that story or not. Look it up when we get offline. Okay. I don't want to talk about it here, but there was an incident that made national news that happened at Welcome to Rockville with Brass Against. It involved a woman and who was the lead singer, who basically didn't have time to relieve herself before the performance, apparently.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, just look it up. Look it up. You're not going to believe it.
Oh
you're
boy. Yeah.
I
just did the little search for it and just seeing the headlines that pop up.
There's video. It's bizarre.
Oh boy.
It's very bizarre, but I didn't witness any of that. That stage was not next to me. I was next to the Octane stage, so I didn't know about it until today, until I saw the headline. But that happened at Welcome to Rockville. So many bands. But anyway, they were putting together a list, and you would think going into this that would make perfect sense. It's relevant to what's happening at the festival. But, I think it's just like any other event that you do, be it a wedding or a quince or any event. There's a vision at the beginning where it's like, hey, we think this is what we want. And then you say in your mind, hey, I think this would go over well. But then you get there. It's different. It's not what you think. I was talking to I guess you would call him the stage manager, who's from Milwaukee, good guy. We were playing almost the opposite of what the stage was playing. And as people were walking by, because there was a big walking path right in front of us, kind of going between the two main stages.
Okay.
So let's say you have, I don't know, you've got Offspring playing here and they end at 7:15. Over on the next stage, you've got Stained that's going on at 7:30. So there's 15 minutes to get back and forth between stages. So there's a lot of traffic during those times. I would watch the crowd walking back and forth, and I would play songs to see what they responded to. And I think for it was much better than we had.
Sure.
A little slow. And the sound quality. Where I'm playing the promo only tracks, the Top Hits USA tracks. They're good for broadcast. They sound good through the system. they're fun, and people take notice.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a discovery that I made. Although festival essentially, those tracks worked well.
What kind of an audience were they catering to with this event?
Well, it's rock, and it was funny because, like I said, you've got artists like this Rise Against. You've got artists like Anthrax. They were there. You had people just like rock. You had people who were really into the heavy stuff. You had people who I think were just casual concert goers. But I mean, as you know, there are a lot of people out there who do enjoy rock, but they like other things too. We know this from going to weddings and things. There are people who, how many grooms have you talked to who's like, yeah, I'm a rock and roll guy.
Mm-hmm.
But then turns out, they'll dance to other things and they enjoy those things. So I don't think it's as cut and dry as we think it is on paper. People are a little more fluid than that when it comes to musical tastes.
Sure.
So it was all kinds. Really were all kinds of people there. So people there, in costume, like cosplay people.
Yeah.
And then there were just like normal dudes there, and there were girls there, groups of girls there. They were black, they were white, they were Latino, they were all walks of life, So all kinds of people. I will say that it was a really good crowd.
Nice.
There were no issues. Everybody was cool. Everybody was nice. Nobody got weird. I didn't notice at any point in time where anybody was what I would consider misbehaving. Aside from some rather strange aromas in the air, which you will have at a concert, everybody was just being cool. There was no problem. So,
strange aromas.
Yeah. Hashtag contact high.
So those were how long would the days end up? I don't think you've talked about the actual length of the day.
Well, I would get there on site at around 10, maybe 20 after 10, because it does take some time to park. It takes some time to get from the lot through the checkpoint and into the infield of the Daytona 500, which is where this was held.
Mm-hmm.
There was in the Daytona 500. It's in the infield. That would take time. Then once you get in there, you got to set up. And they opened the gates around noon for people to come in. There were people camping there. There were campsites in the infield. People would bring their RVs and such, but they still would close off, that area where the festival was actually happening and open those gates at noon. And then the latest I went was 10:20. And most of the time it was 10. Sunday I snuck out early because I could. It just worked out that way. I snuck out early. But yeah, I'll average about 10 o'clock every day. So by the time I got there, like I say, around 10, and then I'm leaving, I'm not really getting out of the lot until probably, I would guess, about a little after 10:30. Pretty long days. It's a solid 12 hours altogether, I would say. Just with everything else you have to do.
How did you balance you having multiple long days, traveling, and really kind of going for a couple of weeks with this? Mm-hmm. How did you take care of yourself so that you were still alive come Sunday, the last day of the event?
Well, road food is always scary, so I was really trying to eat light. That was a big thing. And if you know anything about me, you know that I drink a lot of coffee. I cut way back on the coffee intake. I drink it in the morning. Something else that I did was as soon as I left, if I wasn't grabbing coffee for the morning or a sandwich or something, I was going directly back to the room. I was turning on HBO Go, putting on a Sopranos episode, and usually asleep by midnight. I was up at probably somewhere between 6:15 and 6:30 every morning. And that's when I would kind of, wake up slowly. I get cleaned up, shave, get dressed, check any email I had or anything like that, mm-hmm. and maybe just relax a little bit, and then head out the door about 9:45.
Sure.
So that's how it worked. I didn't party with the guys. I don't know that they were even doing it. I don't know if the staff was partying. We were in different hotels, so I have no idea. I was all by myself. So yeah, it was work and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. Food, I just ate very light. It was a lot of cold cut sandwiches and things like that. One day I went through the Wendy's drive-through. I was hoping to get a grilled chicken sandwich, and they didn't have any grilled chicken. I had to get the crispy chicken. That was bad. I should have done that. The other thing is when I eat, and I do this anyway, but I eat until I'm no longer hungry. I don't eat until my plate's gone. When I'm done eating, I'm done eating.
Sure.
If I overeat, that's bad. So I felt really good. It was good to do it like that. What I wish I would have done, and going back, it probably would have helped a lot, was to have a little OJ in the morning. That probably would have helped that vitamin C.
Sure.
But yeah, I had coffee in the morning, and they had a Starbucks with a limited menu there at the hotel, so I was getting cafe mochas or whatever in the morning. And if I had a little leftover from my sandwich that I ate the day before, I might have that for breakfast. But I only eat when I was hungry, not when it was time to eat. When I was hungry, I ate, and I had little healthy snacks that I would eat. But yeah, it was work and sleep. There was no extracurricular. I didn't see Daytona Beach, the beach at Daytona Beach. There was no time. I saw the hotel room and the speedway. That's what I saw.
And your two areas, and that was it.
Yeah.
Sounds like quite an experience, though. Would have been cool to do, but I think if you would have known going into it what was going to happen and such, it might have been more stress on the front side than a person would have probably been comfortable with or liked.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how you do it, John, but when I go into an event, I think as mobile DJs, we are almost conditioned to hope for the best but prepare for the worst. So I always go into an event expecting just fire coming from the sky and earthquakes and hailstorms. That's just how I go into every event.
Mm-hmm.
So if it isn't a complete catastrophe, it's a win. Mm-hmm. And I'm ready for it, And it's like, oh, this is nice. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. If you go in thinking, there's going to be a breeze, and then something goes wrong, you're very flustered, and it's hard to, get your bearings about yourself.
Yeah.
But just be prepared for the worst thing that could possibly happen. And if it doesn't, it's a bonus.
Yeah, that's good words of advice there. Let's jump into the idea that they wanted you to come down and do some training with the gear. Not specifically just in this instance, but I wanted to talk a little bit because I do have another DJ coming up here in the family. I've got a 7th grader who's now starting to have interest in that. And I was thinking to train people, to show people how to do what we do. Yeah, if you had some, because you have done that, you've had many people where you have been showing them and teaching them, tutoring them throughout the years. What has worked the best in your estimation when it comes to showing and teaching someone the craft that we do?
Well, all you can do, or all I believe that you can do, is teach people the technical part of the job. So this is your crossfader. Here are your pre-fade listens. This is 0 dB. This is where you set your master. See what happens when you go to 8 and your master's at 8 and you're at 0 dB on your pre-fade listen. Hey, look, everything's at 0 dB. Yeah, so just make sure every track's like that. And then just that's what you focus on. That's the big focus for me. Mm-hmm. When it comes to programming, hey, you're on your own. I can show you what your paintbrushes are and what a canvas is, and a couple techniques, but above and beyond that, you're an artist. You have to develop your own artistic thing that you do. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you what to play, but I can show you how to play things and show you how the technical stuff of it works. So, I tried to make that as simplistic as possible. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do you think that DJs that are wanting to get into this, do you think they struggle more with the technical side of it, or do you think that it's the what to play at what time to play it? Which side do you think they struggle the most with?
Well, from what I'm hearing, I think a lot of DJs feel like if they've got the technical part down, they're done. That's just the start. You need to understand, how to perform and make this your own, and come into your own as an artist. The technical part, I mean, that's just what you must do to make sound come out of speakers. That's
Yep.
you know, it I can show you that. And I think that most people, especially, can we say young people? We can say that, right?
Certainly, that's
Not your family, the young family, but young
yeah,
people.
I mean that's younger DJs are the ones that I'm
Younger, right?
working with. Yeah.
I think they're technically pretty good. I mean, they grew up around technology and they seem to understand things. Whether or not they follow the Unity gain system or the 0 dB rule is irrelevant. They usually don't. They like pretty lights bouncing around, and if they don't see, so you're not headlining unless you're red. Is that what they say?
Yeah, exactly. If you're
something like that. But anyway, I mean, I think they can learn the technical part, but the artistic part is a little tricky, as you know. I mean, you come into your own. It's interesting. I was talking to Jay Brennan, like I do. He was telling me about this little dive bar he went to, this tiki dive bar in Vegas this week. Him and Chris Cox and I think CB Shaw and some other guys went into this little dive bar. And there was a guy in there with turntables, and he only played 45s. He'd only been DJing for 4 years. And everything that he played, he didn't know what the stuff was. He'd found it in his garage that morning. It was amazing stuff. It was like rare groove stuff. He was just pulling tracks out and trying them. And my understanding is the guys had the best time listening to this.
Sure. What a journey that would be.
Yeah. He wasn't trying to beat mix it. None of that. He was just playing the songs. So the only song he recognized was like a Daft Punk sample. And we figured out that it was Release the Beast by Breakwater from Robot Rock. Like he had the original, there, but nothing else they recognized. And they said it was the most amazing thing. It was so much fun. I don't know. I mean, that's cool to me. When someone's trying to impress, I think that's, I don't know, for the younger guys, they're trying to impress with mixing skills. They're trying to impress with, I don't know, that they're so cool. I don't know. I think it's better when you don't know. This poor guy in there, he didn't know enough about DJing to know what he was doing, and it was amazing. I don't know how to describe it, but I know what he's talking about.
Yep.
You've been to my house. There's bars across the street from me. There was a bar across the street from me. It's Blackbird now, but it used to be called Groove. And on the side of the building, there was a big sign that looked like a Technics 1200 turntable. And they had guys in there that would do that. They would show up with their 45 collection. They just play the weirdest stuff, and it was so much fun. That's cool. I mean, that's like programming by mistake, like great programming by mistake, but they were pulling it off. Then there's the whole factor where you need to learn what people like and what motivates them. And it's just like I was talking about with this rock festival. I mean, I was talking to Jay about this, and he's like, "Oh man, let's get a list of metal tracks that you're going to want to play." And I'm like, okay, yeah, I better pay attention to this because that's what we thought it was going to be.
Right.
But once you're there, you see, no, wait a minute, let's try something different. I think this might work better, and it does.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to teach people. You can't. They almost have to watch and pay attention to learn that. The technical side, I think, it can be taught, and that's what you can teach. But the performance side, it's an art.
So the ability to look at that crowd down at Daytona, was that something that you think you would have honed more over your years as a mobile DJ, or your years working as a club DJ, or when you're doing
both? I mean, it's all relevant. It's what motivates people. It doesn't matter who they are, where they are. It's motivation. I could take more liberties with this than I could at a wedding.
Certainly. Yeah, I'd see that.
Or at a club, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because it was mostly background stuff. So I could play. I really had no limits as to what I could do. Whatever I thought I could play to make people take notice and say, "Hey, what's going on in there?" and bob their head a little bit, I'd play it. I didn't have anybody telling me oh, you must play this or you must play that, or we don't want to hear this and we don't want any of that. I just went with it. So,
yeah.
But I will say this. I'm stopping and starting constantly, right? Because I'm doing the band breaks. Plus, there's people coming up and singing karaoke. So you're stopping for them. You're playing their karaoke track, and then maybe you're jumping back into a track. Probably not, because typically I had several singers lined up.
Mm-hmm.
But after a couple of days of that, your brain is just scrambled eggs, dude. I mean, I was just like, oh my God, where do I go now? Because I was attempting a no repeat.
Okay.
For the staff's sake.
Mm-hmm.
That's a club habit that I got into.
It is. Yep.
You know, when you're playing, you've done it, played bars and things. You don't want to play the same songs all the time, because then they know what you're going to play. You're predictable and they hate you.
Yep.
So you want to mix it up. So I made it a mission to do a no repeat week. And I don't think I repeated anything at all. But with all the stopping and starting, that's the hard part. Once you get momentum, it's easy.
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
It's like I was compared to pushing a stalled car. It's always harder to get the car rolling, but once it's rolling, it's not too bad. But if you had to constantly stop and get the car rolling again, it's going to get exhausting. So I was just shot. In fact, I went so far as to Google on my tablet in the hotel room. I think it was Sunday morning, great party tracks. And then I was like taking pictures of these things with my phone. Oh yeah, that song. Oh yeah, that song. I haven't played that song because I just couldn't think anymore. I was I was tired. Just worked,
Great party.
overworked, I guess. And then, where do you go? I always start out with my best tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a habit that I got into a couple of years ago when I heard Louis C.K. say he starts with his best joke. He used to save it for last, but now he does it first because it forces him to do amazing things after that.
Certainly.
So I do that with tracks too. I the first day, oh man, I murdered it. Second day was Spotify, so I didn't have to do anything. And then the third day came along. I was like, okay, what did I do on Thursday? Okay, let's do something else. But by Sunday, I was like, I have no idea what to play. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. But yeah, we worked it out. It went fine. And there were so many people singing karaoke. I wasn't really DJing as much as you'd think.
Sure.
Some in the morning, you start out doing it usually between band breaks. Sometimes by the time we got to a band break, the spokesmodels there would say, hey, I've got 3 people lined up. Okay, well, let's just do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't even play any music. I would just jump right into that, into the hosting and mic teching and wonderful singing. There's a list of 50 songs out there that I never want to hear again.
These songs are never again.
There were a couple on the list that no one sang. It was kind of weird, but not many. Like there's like maybe 3 songs that no one sang, but the rest of them, everybody hit them.
Everyone's at one point in time.
Yeah.
Oh, funny. We've got about 10 more minutes here before Howie's going to be getting things ready to go for the next show. I wanted to talk about Festivus was what my little topic of this part of it.
Yeah.
For those of you who aren't familiar with it, Festivus was an actual event that I think in the 1960s. A gentleman created the whole concept of having a Festivus celebration, and it became a big thing in Seinfeld episode where George's father was supposed to be the one who created Festivus, but it actually was a thing before Seinfeld. But it was a celebration, Festivus for the rest of us. Instead of being the commercialism of Christmas, it was Festivus for the rest of us, celebrated on December 23rd. Why this comes in is, Brian, I've had a few people who have looked at, DJ Collective is going on right now. Some of the other conventions are out there, and people are like, we love, we want to do these get-togethers and go to these conventions and things, but some of them are really, they're the investment is there because they're going there for the educational side of it. And people are like, I don't really want to do something like that. They're like, we should do a Festivus DJ get together, a gathering for the rest of us. So, right. and you and I've talked about a little bit about this,
sure.
Of doing.
You're
something.
putting me on the spot here, John.
I know.
We usually talk on the phone about.
Well, I wanted to throw this out there because there might be some people out there, but is there do you think there would be interest in doing something like that out there?
Yeah, of course there would be.
I mean, have we been hearing from enough folks who say, hey, we would like to do a gathering, and where does something like this go? Where does a person do something like this?
It doesn't matter. And that's the beautiful part about it. And I know this because I've done it. The very first Practice and Enjoy event that I did in 2008, I think I had 3 weeks to plan it.
Oh my.
It was in January in Wisconsin. In fact, it was the first time you and I ever communicated. I remember you sending me an email. I'm John Young. I have the Shocking News. I want to come down and cover your event that you're having. And at the time, I'm thinking, look, I don't want to waste your time because I have no idea how many people are going to come to this. Mm-hmm. I had 100 people. I mean, how many events have you been to in the last few years where there haven't been 100 people?
Precisely. Good events.
I had 100 people.
Yeah.
I had been on YouTube for less than a year. I announced this. I got 100 people. They came from everywhere. They flew in from everywhere. We did a 2-day event. It was relaxed and groovy. It was DJs helping other DJs. It cost nothing. We didn't charge anybody anything. If you build it, they will come if you do it right. And what I've noticed is I appreciate all of the show producers out there, what they're trying to do and what they've done, but it's always the same thing. It's like we have a list of people lecturing, and then we have some gear, and be on your way. I think you can do things that are a lot more fun than that. You can do interactive things, workshops, like real hands-on workshops, and just time to talk. The chill lounge. I mean, what did that turn into? That turned into this Zoom meeting that's been going on for almost 2 years now.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, those are the kind of things people want to do. They want to learn from each other. And I think that would be a fantastic, I guess, maybe baseline to think about for something like this. Mm-hmm. Be different. It's just like I was talking about with the music at Welcome to Rockville. Yeah, we had these playlists set up with every artist that was on those stages. But when I played Michael Jackson, Billie Jean, that's when people turned around and looked at me and said, what's going on in there? I want to be a part of that. It's different. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to just be different to be noticed, and people like different.
Sure.
So I don't know. Those are just some off the hat 2 cents.
And that's really kind of what I was wanting to do is just to throw the idea out there, because there's folks out there who have brought this up. A couple of that are in the chat room with us tonight. But there's been a lot of discussion, because some remember back to the early Practice and Enjoy events you did, and some were when we did our conclave when we got together in Minneapolis and had some good times with that. So it's like, are we getting to the point where we're having that and this isn't education where it's going to be speakers on a stage type of a gathering. This would be different than what is out there right now, because for the people who can learn in that setting and thrive in that setting, there's some great content between February or April, June, and so there's great stuff out there. But there's also, for some people who just want to come and probably the closest to that in the last few years was what Owen did, really, where we got to get together, and there was some seminars going on, but it was
a lot of seminars going on.
There was also the informal aspect of it, and maybe it wasn't supposed to be informal in the back rows, but it was for us.
It was. Yeah.
It was for us.
It was.
But it was a good time, and I've wondered about that, and as people have been bringing that up and such, it's like maybe it's time to look at that and see if at some time later in 2022 if we should be planning another Practice and Enjoy.
I think so. I mean, okay. And it's odd that DJs do this. It's odd that DJs have these structured lecture times and schedules, and every single DJ conference that I've been to does the same thing. And they all tell you how different they are, but they're really no different than the next guy. They're doing the same stuff. It's weird.
It's a similar formula, of what they're doing.
Yeah, it's all kind of the same formula. It's the same outline.
Yeah, and they might be plugging in different people, and some have more professional speakers, some don't. But yeah, it's like, okay, so we take a little bit of an exhibit hall, we take a stage full of speakers going up. I mean, and we've done that too. The Disc Jockey News, we did seminars and conventions around the country also. So it's not, but it's
as a DJ though. I mean, there's one thing that I can tell you, and this comes from my family. I learned this from my family, and my family is not unique in this regard. You don't have to put on a dog and pony show to entertain people. All you have to do is get the right people in the room. It doesn't matter what room it is, and they're going to have fun. I remember my sister said one time about my Uncle Dave. If anybody knows who my Uncle Dave is, he's not with us anymore, but he was quite a character. Uncle Dave could have fun in a cemetery. If he had an audience, it would be fun there. It didn't matter where Uncle Dave was. He brought the party with him. People are like that.
Sure.
DJs should be like that. So I don't think you have to put on these dog and pony shows for them. Just give them a place to be, to gather, and it's going to be fine. Our events are like that. Oh, you did such a great job. It's like, well, thank you. But you know what? You had a great audience.
And that helps.
Your guests were fantastic. They were self-starters. They were ready to have fun. I think that we have those personalities as DJs where we don't have to be in Vegas. We could do this crap in Milwaukee. We've done it. We could do it anywhere. We can do Boise, Idaho. I've never been there. Let's do it there. I don't know. Sounds like a nice city. Let's go there. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I did it here because I was at the time, it was, that was a long time ago. But at the time I had access to some people who had some venues that would go ahead and open their doors to me. And I told them, hey, look, you can have bar. I'm just going to bring you, I don't know, hopefully 30 people on a dumb night where you'd have nothing else going on. And they were happy to open their doors.
Sure.
And I brought more than 100 people. They made money. Didn't cost anybody anything. It was nice. That's why I did it here, because I just knew people. But yeah, you could do it anywhere. You don't have to make it as this exotic destination. Just say, hey, look, who's going to be there? Well, Jay's going to be there. Brian's going to be there. John's going to be there. Howie's going to be there. Get the right players there, and they'll come in just to hang out with you, And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you know what we're going to do? If it's a 2-day thing, at 5:00 on this day, John Young's going to tell us how to incorporate slide whistles into your DJ performances. That's going to be something he's going to do as a keynote at 5:00 on this day. You could do that, but if you do the whole day like that, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, because
telling people when to eat lunch and everything else, it's crap.
After I've shown this slide whistle technique a couple of times, it would get old. It would be good, but it would get old.
It would be good, but one time, 5:00 slide whistle, not all day of slide whistle presentation.
Yeah, that's true. Although maybe if I would try to translate it to different languages, that could be exciting.
Do it in Japanese.
Ooh, I'll work on that. So that it's just something I wanted to kind of throw that thought out there and just to plant the seed, and we'll have to revisit this and talk about it more.
I'm down, dude.
But
as long as I'm not at some festival hosting karaoke.
There is that.
I'm down.
There is that.
This could be a thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
this could be it. It could be over, but it could also be my new career. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
See what happens with that. So yeah, we'll look at this idea and we'll revisit that. And if you guys have any thoughts on that, reach out to Brian and myself, or in the chill room, you guys can chat about that. And who knows if something could come together? It'd be a lot of fun to get together and spend a couple of days together, talking shop and just enjoying life.
I think it would be fun too.
It would be. So, Brian, we're at 50 past, so we got to get things shut down and then head over to DJNTV.com/chill. I think Howie's going to be headed over there in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I have a show to do there.
Yeah, you guys.
Howie's my engineer.
Yeah, Howie takes care of it and does a nice job.
Producer. That's why I've been calling him. That's kind of what he is, isn't it?
Exactly. It's exactly what he is, and he's been doing a great job. And I thank Howie for all the time he's been putting into doing our shows in the evening like that. That is absolutely fabulous.
He does really well for an 87-year-old man. I'm really impressed with what he can do.
And now you're
He's
going to
inspiring.
now you're going to get cut off when he gets. Oh, sorry, Brian. Because he does have that ability to mute your microphone at any time.
Yeah.
He does. So. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. Hopefully you had a good time as we kind of went through a variety of different topics and thoughts tonight. Jump over to djntv.com/chill and join the guys tonight in the chill room, and we will catch you next time. Good night, everybody.